Everybody, it's Jeremy. Welcome back to the Slowest WAAAGH, where we are playing Tzeentch. It is turn 46, I believe. Should be 46. And we got some stuff going on. We have completed Alteration 7. We did a bunch of site searching. No. We spawned a cavalcade. No. Another cavalcade? No. Yikes. That's a whole lot of site searching for nothing. Whoops. Doing a little bit of blood econ. Not much going on there. Smothered Arc continues to recover, which is cool. Fourth gate unlocked. We get 1 blue, 3 pink, 1 screamer. We unlock the 5th gate. We get 5 astral, 7 fire, 2 air, an eye shield, and the gate. With the 5th gate unlocked, we get another 4 blue horrors, 3 pink horrors, and a screamer. So that's pretty cool. We need 68 more secrets to continue onwards. Unexpected event in Drear Caverns. We get 6 glamour gems. Unexpected event in Stonegrave Mountains. We get 6 summer lions and a pyromancer. That's kind of neat. We lose a scout, which is unfortunate. And the magic artifacts are now within reach. So that's kind of cool. What are we doing this turn? Well, you can see some big red arrows. We are making the decision. It's turn 46. We will have Alt 8 in 3 turns, roughly. We are making the decision to go for Naggarond. Alt 8 is going to be a pretty big power spike for us. Along the way to Alt 8, we have received Army of Shades. We've received Will of the Fates. We've received Doom, all quite useful. At 8, we're also going to add Army of Mist into the mix. We'll be able to do some resistance stuff like Flame Flesh and Frost Flesh, which are all doable for us. We'll be able to do Marble Army, which is doable for us. We'll be able to do Army of Giants, which is doable, but more difficult for us to do, but still doable, right? So that's a lot of power that I don't think Naggarond is going to have, and is not potentially going to have good responses for. So, for example, previously we got to see the graphs a couple turns ago, right? And, we got a good gauge of where people were around us. We know Itza is doing amazing on research. We can't tell with Athel Loren. And we know Naggarond is not doing great with research, and has been kind of unlucky, I think, in the whole conquering additional territory. They have taken some territory from Nehekara, but they have not had a good, clean war, unfortunately, for them, which at this point makes them kind of small and lessens their capabilities overall. So we're going to make the move against Naggarond because I think that is, 1, going to be a good fight for us, and 2, I think sets us up at a better location to then threaten Itza, right, in Green Woods. Whoever is currently holding Saboria, which may be Khorne or maybe Bretonnia. I don't think it's Naggarond, right? So this is hopefully going to be a small war and a clean war, but Naggarond has a bunch of different interesting tools. They've got some really scary troops. We've seen what their witch elves can do and how chop-choppy they can be, so they can deal a lot of damage to us, but really it's more the Naggarond mages that I'm scared of. Their mage line is very good. And can do some nasty stuff, right? So hopefully things turn out well for us. I don't think this is going to be a bloodless war on our account, but I'm hoping it's not going to be too terrible. Another reason why we're pushing for Naggarond is simply because our Dominion seems to be winning out against them, right? Like, we are slowly diminishing their dominion, pushing into it, giving us a decent front for our demons, for our daemon princes, etc., etc. So hopefully that's going to be a whole thing. So in that vein, you can see a lot of arrows moving in that direction. Some of it is just forces that, we want to have a decent-sized double army, I think, heading into Nagaron territory, so we can threaten multiple locations at once, as well as various raiding options as we go into it. So the Middenheim army is moving out. This is going to be one of the big armies. As we move through, we do have the issue of Cormark being in the way, and there is this Sacred Glen here. But as we've seen previously, the Sacred Glen doesn't even do a very good job of killing just blue horrors. And I think the pink horrors are probably safely outside of its threat range. And that's really all that we have in here that is going to be, an issue for Cormark. So we're basically just marching through it one turn, and maybe we'll lose some blue horrors and pink horrors, and that'll be that. But otherwise, the goal is to get the Middenheim army over to Traveler's Rest, while we build up the Tzeentchian army, and we are prepared to then march towards their capital and Walnut Woods basically at the same time. Fortunately, with the whole Tzeentchian army, we can basically wait until the nap is done. I don't remember if I ended the nap this turn or if I end it next turn, but I'm pretty sure it's ended around here. So we've got that whole situation going on. We got a number of other things happening as well. Around the Empire, we're still recruiting a bunch of acolytes, but we are continuing to recruit other units, including a fair number of marauders. Marauders are just really cheap and easy raiders. Now, they can get caught with things and obliterated, but throwing 20 marauders at a province, unless you have a lot of PD there, the Marauders will win against almost any kind of PD. And if you, depending on what kind of trap you throw there, like anti-raiding trap you throw there, the Marauders still can do a pretty damn good job, right? So I think Marauders are going to be pretty useful throughout the game, really, but in a war like this as well, where we're basically going to have some big armies kind of stomping around. We'll have some Daemon Princes doing their things. We'll maybe have a couple little, like, mage traps. We have, like, this little Earth Gnome Thug guy that could probably do some work. He is a poor amphibian, so maybe we can, like, send him underwater to fuck around, right? But ultimately, I think also just sending out a commander with 20 Marauders is going to be a pretty damn good raiding force, and that is pretty easy for us to do. So like I said, a fair number of more acolytes and things like that. Pretty much in the back line, away from where the war is going, we're still recruiting mages, but then close to the front of the war, we're recruiting more, units and things like that. Also recruiting a couple of commanders, like chieftains and things like that, outside of our fortifications, so that we can lead Marauder stacks or other stacks with them. We're also bringing in a fair number of mages from Middenheim. We're not completely cleaning it out, but we are moving a fair number of mages. This includes things like Sorcerer Lords out of Middenheim and Sorcerer Lords out of Bogoloth, Bogoloth, because we want them available for big magic and things like that in the war. Whereas what they're doing right now, being spread out, is basically providing a +1 research. So we will be losing a little bit of research, but we're sitting pretty at the moment as far as research goes. At least I feel like turn 46, basically being at around the 2K mark, feels pretty good to me. So pretty happy about that. We're doing a fair bit of foraging. We have also renamed our Daemon Princes. So we after after naming Sombre, the original Daemon Prince, I was like, fuck it. All of our Daemon Princes are just going to be other players. So we now have Sombre, we have Ballin, we have Zan, and we have Cookies. As we get more, we will continue to add to the list. But for right now, we are focusing on Cavalcade summoning to beef up an army in Tzeentch. This turn went pretty well for us as far as the Cavalcades went. The 2 Cavalcades that we did cast. We got, what is this, 6, 10, 15 greater demons out of it, which is pretty solid, right? So we just have them all split up at the moment as we do a couple more cavalcades. We're doing 2 more cavalcades in Tzeentch, and we're doing a cavalcade down here in Valkyria, because we're probably gonna march. When we march, we're probably gonna march some things from Valkyria and Tzeentch to threaten Walnut Woods. But we also have these underground provinces that we potentially want to threaten from Naggarond as well. In that vein, we got this big event of troglodytes down here. So we're gonna try to threaten it. The issue is I think what we're sending in here is just gonna die. The hope is that we kill a couple of troglodytes and they rout, but I think their morale is actually better than that. So I don't think that this is going to finish them, but I'm hopeful that what we're sending afterwards will be able to finish them. And then we'll be able to just threaten Hot Hollows and Silver World from below with that stuff. But we might need more than that. More stuff like Rings of Regeneration, Amulets of Anti-Magic, more boosters like Thistle Maces. We've got a Firebrand coming out. A couple of little things here or there, basically. I do feel like we've kind of like... We might be jumping the gun a little bit, because I don't know that we're going to be able to get all of the boosters and gem gens and gear sets that I want before we actually jump into things. But, it's we got options. We don't have to force everything immediately, but we'll see. Right now, for instance, we've got Cookies over here, kitted out in kind of more of a classic protection style scenario. So 26 protection is pretty good. He's going to have regeneration. He has awe off of the Shield of Gleaming Gold. So the concept here is to really layer various different options. Basically, so with the combination of... What is it? Go... Yeah, because the natural protection is above his invulnerability. The invulnerability doesn't actually do anything, right? So he's got 26 protection. He's going to have awe. He's going to have regeneration. He's going to have fear. He will have luck. He'll be able to put body ethereal on himself. He has 21 defense, but he'll also be able to throw out probably like displaced body is probably like the go-to there. And obviously, we'll throw another weapon on him so that he has 2. That's probably where the Firebrand is going. But with the entrancement on top of that, the hope is that he's got a bunch of different layers of defense. Pretty high magic resistance, so hopefully outside of the range of getting like Soul Slade or something like that. But ultimately, if he does die, the intent is to use him only in our Dominion. I say that. I've talked about this previously, right? Like, I feel like for the price range at 50 gems and the fact that we have Eternal Pyre up, I feel like using them only in Dominion is not a requirement, but, if we've also got full stacks of gear, it would be one thing if I just take a Demon Prince, summon it, throw, like, the dregs of what's in my inventory on there, and then toss them. That I could see using outside of Dominion, but if we have really like put together gear sets, the only way I would want to use them outside of Dominion probably is if we see something that we very specifically are like, oh, oh, this particular demon with this particular gear set can absolutely take this stack and ruin it. So we'll do that, right? Like, I could see that kind of situation. So, famous last words. Maybe we lose a shit ton of demon princes for no reason, but we'll see. We're also doing a couple of other interesting things. We are empowering this Sorcerer Lord in nature, because we need a nature guy to do some, to be able to do things like Moonbite bracelets and stuff like that. But also because nature will allow us to have a Sorcerer Lord nature caster at the head of a big communion to do big nature magic. Alternatively, what we can do to this guy, because we're not going to be able to empower a billion Sorcerer Lords in nature. We have good nature, but we don't have great that much nature. The other thing that we can do is make... what are they called? One down? Yeah, one down. Sky Metal Matrix. So that will allow us to throw something onto like a Marauder Shaman, and put nature into a communion that way, right? So we've got options to get nature into the mix. Other than that, we're pretty much covered on almost everything else. We've got a splash of water, enough earth to matter. We've got the fire, we've got the air, we've got the glamour. So really, it's just nature and death that we don't really have to be able to kind of like kick around. Everything else we have access to. So the nature here is going to help with that. And then over here, we are actually empowering Zan in death. But not really for the same reasons. The reason we're doing Zan in death is because I want to make a Soul Vortex Phoenix Pyre guy to play around with that kind of option on this chassis. Because I think that'll be a pretty interesting thing, giving him some fatigue gear and doing Soul Vortex Phoenix Pyre and being able to run around and do some other things. Also, death is something that we don't really have anything that we're doing with in death, and we do have a decent little death economy. So we might empower multiple times in death and eventually have access to a teleporting high death caster, and you can do some interesting traps with what we've got going on in that regard. So that's another thing that we're just kind of noodling around with. We'll see how that actually turns out. Anything else crazy interesting happening? I don't really think so. There's a lot of movement, a lot of preparation as we kind of surge towards this impending war with Nagron. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. What do we have as far as Dominion goes? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We got 10. We've got 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. We've got 16, 17, 18 this turn, which is pretty fucking good. 10 is that point where if you can consistently get 10, then you will eventually get up to the concept of like the 8th gate, but it'll take you a while. If you're getting to the point to where you're getting 20 a turn, that's really fucking solid. And of course the concept is to get to it in time for it to kind of really matter, because if you just get to it at like turn 80 and the game is done, then it didn't really matter as much. But if you can get to it at maybe like turn 60, then that could be a really, really big thing. Because then if the game lasts another 10, 15, 20, 30 turns, you're actually getting a fair amount of bang for your buck after that point. fighting Nagarond is also going to be another step in that direction, because if we do well and we take fortifications and or just various labs outside of our dominion, we'll get an extra juice from that kind of situation. Another thing to note, which I think is kind of neat, I'm not sure if I actually mentioned this in the national overview, but once you open all of the gates, after that point, if you take a lab outside of your dominion, it's no longer sacrificed to the gate, right? So it actually, like, you know, you get to the point to where you're never wasting those laboratories, right? Like, which I think is a really, really cool thing. The other scenario is if we do win against Nagarond and it goes well, we can turn our attentions towards other individuals, namely Itza, I think, is the prime candidate for us to just be like a nice square. But at that point, that's probably, you know, if we were to do something like that and we were to win, we would draw the ire of every other person in the game, which is not something that we want at this particular point in time or in anywhere in the near future. But I think taking Nagarond puts us into position, again, to threaten this throne, threaten this throne. We're already in a position to kind of like challenge the Dawi for these 3 thrones, right? So we'll never end up being able to avoid conflict with the dwarves. It's going to happen eventually. But the intent is maybe that's the last thing that we try to do. So yeah, I think that is pretty much it. Good stuff. I'm really excited to see where this goes. I'm really excited for a war, another war with Nagarond. I know we had a long kind of like introductory period or kind of like tech up period before the war with Middenheim, and then the war with Middenheim I think went very well for us. I'm hopeful that the war against Nagarond is going to go well as well. So fingers crossed, we'll see how it goes. That's it. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye, everybody. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like, commenting, or subscribing. It really helps me out. If you'd like to see me live, head over to my Twitch at twitch.tv/thedistanthorizon.